Welcome to Money Mondays. My name is JB Bolvedin, and every Monday I bring to you an entrepreneur that's come from real success to help you scale your business. You're not in your journey alone, and today I have a real special treat for you. Peter Grosso, broker and owner of RE/MAX Integrity Leaders. Peter, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
No, it's a pleasure. This is a great space, and this is going to be a good time.
Thanks. Well, look, I'm really looking forward to this. I've been watching you for a while, been a fan for a long time, so I'm really happy we're able to finally get face-to-face and talk business, because your story is an interesting one from what I know so far, but I'm really excited to dig in deeper and find out more. So I know right now you're running one of the best RE/MAX offices out there, and your approach to things are very different, unique, and very cool, which I want to go into a little bit. But before you got into the real estate space, what were you doing before that? Like, what was Pete on the come up?
So you could say I kind of fell into real estate. I was a union iron worker. For those of you who don't know, a union iron worker you ever see the picture over Rockefeller Center? The guy sitting on a beam of Rockefeller Center?
Yeah.
That's what an iron worker is. And I was working on Citi Field, the Met Stadium, and I was building the sunscreen, and I was walking across a beam. And as I was walking across the beam, I had to walk over some decking that's supposed to be tied down, and it wasn't. And I fell 18 feet to a lower roof, and I broke my ankle, my leg, and my back.
Oh, my.
And they had to use a crane to lift me up, and I was actually on the pitcher's mound of Citi Field on a stretcher. So, which is pretty cool. I was on the pitcher's mound of Citi Field. I didn't enjoy it at the time, but it's nice to know I was there. And that was the last day of my ironworker career. It was a job I loved, and I had plans to be the president of Local 361, but my trajectory changed that day. So I went through about 3.5 years of surgeries. I walked with a cane for probably 2.5 years.
Wow.
And I had to figure out what I could do. So while I was injured, the financial crisis happened. So it was interesting. It was in my face. So I wanted to know more about it. I was reading as many articles as I can in the present, and then I had nothing to do. I'm laying up, I'm going through surgery, so I ordered textbooks from Yale University, Harvard University. I found on iTunes at the time, I could take all their classes. They were uploading them onto iTunes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So I took Econ 101 at Harvard and Yale. I took Econ 102, and I just delved myself into economics and the housing market. And when I was able to really get around and do things, and I had this vision and this plan on where I thought the world was going, and I flew to Detroit, Michigan, and I started investing there. Because I thought the trajectory would be I thought the lows were going to be much lower and the highs would end up being much higher. And I invested in Rochester, New York, because they had a incredible social safety net. They had a great Department of Social Services that backstopped all the rents, and they had Section 8 housing and things like that. So what was happening was the housing prices were going down, but the rents were staying the same. So the ROIs were huge. So I found a way with some networking and meeting people, which is really what I love to do. We were buying some houses from wholesalers, buying some foreclosures, fixing them, renting them, and then selling them in packages on LoopNet to people all across the world.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I had my first daughter. My only daughter, my first daughter, and then my son. When I had my daughter, I thought I was going to own something in every state in the country, and then I didn't want to leave my house, So I decided I was going to figure out how to be an investor or do something on Long Island. I got my real estate license. I sat with my broker at the time, and she took me on, Rita Takaris, an incredible coach and producer, and still producing to this day. And the next week was the award ceremony. I didn't plan on even be selling real estate. Went to the award ceremony. Everyone else is getting awards. I didn't get one.
Oh, wow.
I didn't like it. I was a weekend. I didn't deserve anything, but I said to myself, I'm going to earn something. And I decided to delve myself into the sales portion of it. And my first year, I sold 7 houses. My second year, I sold 47.
Wow.
By the end of the second year, I took over the #1 Remax on Long Island. And I'm on year 5, and I have 3, and with a partner on the other 2.
That's awesome. And what a change of trajectory. If I can go back to one thing, I mean, one, when you fell, that must have been, it's like the equivalent of falling off of a house. That type of,
Yeah.
you know, feeding. To be 3 years in and out of surgery and in the recovery element, how did you keep yourself sane and focused during that time?
So I didn't always, you know, and one of the things that probably drives me today is how low you get, how valueless you feel when there's nothing to wake up for. There's you're not helping anyone. You're not adding any value to the world, and you just feel helpless, and people are helping you, and like it. And I was walking with a cane. I'm a manly man. I don't, and people going, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" And I just would have thought, "I'll fight you right now." Yeah. Like I didn't, like I did not like being so helpless and
Yeah.
so weak, and there were some pretty low times, you know, and I remember like breaking down several times and just like not feeling like I had any purpose at all. And when so like now that I have these opportunities, I just like, I can't let them go.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it's almost a fear that I'm going to fall back into that, you know, nothingness.
Yeah.
So it was tough. And even like moments where like, you're just like this, like you're like, one day I just like, with my crutches, just got up. And I sprinted for, like, I had just all this energy, like this frustration and energy, like just from it. And I just went like a mile on my crutches, and then I had to figure out how to get back. And that, you know, that's a lot of, you know, I feel like that's, you know, good entrepreneurial thing too. Like sometimes you just go, and you go, how did I get here? I got somewhere, I did something.
Yeah.
Now I just gotta like, now I have no energy, and I gotta keep going and complete the mission.
Absolutely. No, I could imagine, because I was off my feet for 3 months, and I went a little bit low, and I could only imagine for 3 years to be able to bounce back from that. But I guess that also is that intensity that you don't leave behind once you're able to rock and roll and see through it. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I've always been super intense, which is what made it so frustrating for me. Like, you know, when I was in iWork, I was not the most talented. I'm actually very untalented at anything handy. But I worked my butt off. I would show up. I'd show up 2 hours early to work.
Wow.
To make sure that they knew that I was the first person there. And I had no like talent, but I'm strong, and I would just give it everything. I'd fall asleep in my soup every night, and I would make sure I was asleep by 8:30 so I could be up at 3:30 to 4 a.m. every morning, and be the first person on the job, and do it all again. So like, to take away, you know, that something to focus on and something to go after was tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only, because it's such a labor-intensive job, so it's so physical, and then not be able to walk so now that we go through that process and you start getting into real estate, this evolution is kind of interesting because it's a different trajectory, because like you said, you want to see yourself as the union president, so you really saw that as the thing. How did it look as far as when you first got into real estate and the investing segment of it, and you started to really get, you know, your hands into it? How did that look? Were you scared at all financially? Was there any type of, what were the concerns and considerations during that time, now that you're entering something totally new?
Too dumb to be scared. Okay, so I had this vision. I knew I was right, and there was no way that I could be wrong about this, because I was looking over the Case-Shiller Index, and I'm not going to bore you with what I saw, but like, it had to be the thing. So I thought, as long as I went there and I invested, I'd be okay. And I got the rude awakening that there's many more parts than the idea and investing a few dollars. You know, wrong contractors, wrong management companies, you know, like just wrong people, wrong houses, and you know, I made a ton of mistakes, which, you know, was basically my college, you know, and luckily I got out of there with, you know, I did okay, but with it, if I had the knowledge and that foresight, the knowledge I have now about how to network, how to connect, how to find the right people, and the idea that I had then, I would be a much richer person. So I definitely just went there thinking I had it all together, and then slowly figured out how little I had together.
Well, it's kind of like the experience versus education or experience versus training. Like, I feel like you can definitely prepare for things better, but until you actually get into it, then you really start to like know and then hone it in.
Yeah, you got to get lumped up. You got to get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, failure is my favorite thing in the world. You know, and that's one of the blessings I have. I have this relentless tenacity. Like, you can't outfail me. You can knock me down. I'll just get up and I'll just keep pushing forward. I think it's a lesson that I need my kids to know. It's a lesson that if I can impart to any of my agents, is that, you know, we get discouraged too easily. You know, and you just got to keep pushing forward.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. So now, as a broker owner, instead you're producing and still doing your investing, but now there's actually people working under you that you're leading now, because you're leading a group of people. How's that evolution? Because I think a lot of people in real estate, they first start to see like, okay, how am I going to actually sell? Then they figure that out kind of, and they start making some money. Then they go, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a team. Then they realize they don't know anything because they thought I'm such a good agent. Once I have a team, I'll just quadruple what I'm doing right now. And then from there, once you figure out the team, if you go, let me have a brokerage, that also is a whole new thing. Can you talk to me about that evolution a little bit?
Yeah. Oh man. So I took over a pretty big office. You know, we were the #1 Remax on Long Island when I took it over. So it felt like I woke up. And I was flying a 747, and I had no pilot. I didn't have a license yet, you know, and so the first year was incredibly daunting. Like, I thought I understood the finances and where the money was going, and then all the parts and all the licenses and all the, you know, and then things just kept coming at me, and trying to make sure the agents felt like, because this was a huge change for them. Yeah. They had this incredible broker, Rita, and now this this agent that's been in the business 2 years is just popping in, making changes, telling them they got to shoot video, throwing a green screen into the office, and really, like, you know, for a lot of them, shaking stuff up, while also like trying to understand how this beast works at the same time. Yeah. So it was quite a daunting. The first year was my second most stressful time, and then in business, and then when I took over the summer I took over the second brokerage was the most stressful time of my life.
Wow. So because there's so much like randomity, moving parts, and so many, and there's not figuring out which one's more important than the other, which I don't even think there's an answer to that. They're
a lot
all
of times
important.
There's no answer. Yeah. So you're just up at night trying to figure out what to do. When I took over the second brokerage, within 2 weeks, my front desk manager quit in my first brokerage, and the manager that in the second office I took over quit at the same time, and I had to juggle. I'm implementing systems in the new place. Had to realize how little I knew about my systems in the other place, you know, because that ship was running. And trying to have people not quit because there's again a new sheriff in town. Every time you take over a brokerage, you have to make sure that they know it's okay, and I'm going to bring value, and we're going to do these things. Yeah. So like, I was getting to the office a lot of times at 4 a.m. and not leaving until midnight. Wow. You know, and sometimes just staring at the wall, going, all right, what do I have to do today? How do I save this? How do I find somebody? How do I make the systems mesh? How do I relearn those systems? Build out the new systems. I thought This is the 2 times I thought I was going to fail, and I would never quit. And this is why I was showing up at 4 a.m. and not leaving until midnight. It was painful and stressful on my whole world, but it was scary too.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of people don't really share that, because I know that people that are watching, you're not the only one. There is those times where you stare at the wall or stare at the ceiling, or you wonder, how's this all going to make sense? Or, man, did I bite off more than I can chew? Or all of these things. And I think a lot of people, when they start to face that, they think that's unique to them, or they're not doing it right. But there's an evolution to this. And if you stay in it, you don't quit, and you actually are actively working on finding that, I think that the success is there. And then every time you go to expand, no matter how much you have figured out, what I've noticed from my experience, there's always this thing that you're like, oh man, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, and you can't, because I like to say it's like playing video games in the 90s. I don't know how they work now, but like if you think about Mario Brothers, like when we were a kid, we learned, like, you had to go through the first level. You lost 15 times before you got to the end. Then you get to level 2. When you do level 1, you're done in 10 minutes. Excuse me, 2 minutes. You just sprint through it. So now I'm 40, going to be 41. I can get to level 8 now at 41, no problem, right?
Yeah.
It took me probably a year to learn how to get from 1 to 8 and have those skills. But as soon as you have those skills and you get to the next level, you don't know how to do anything, because it's harder.
Yeah.
There's going to be more problems. There's going to be more things. So, like, if you're not in a situation where you're stressed and pain, worried if you're not going to make it, you're probably not growing.
Yeah.
So, welcome that pain. It's important. And it's scary, and I can't tell you how many meetings and like lunches and stuff I have with fellow entrepreneurs like yourself, and just going over all our pain points, all our stresses, and like it's pretty universal. It's not real estate, it's business. But these feelings are everywhere for all of us.
Absolutely. And the more responsibility you take on, the more people that are connected to your decisions, the more that holds on you, and the more that you have to like build through it and go through it and grow. But it's an amazing experience. Every time that I run into something, I'm like, whoa, it's kind of a big deal. I just smile and I say, you know what? But this is what you asked for, in a good way.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
That responsibility is a privilege too, and I think it takes a special type of person to do that. So what you're doing and how you got there is pretty incredible, because it's such a change of trajectory, and then there's another evolution. You could have just been an agent, just rocked it out, and maybe just got an assistant, and that's it. And then you said, all right, let me take on this and take on this. And I know that you're still going. This is not like the end. This is actually still, the level where you want to go is going to be even bigger from that. So what does the business across the board look like now? What does Peter Grosso's life look like now, where the current stage is?
So we have 3 offices, 2 major ones and one minor one. One in Center Reach, one in Smithtown, and one in Melville. And basically, I have a the one in Center Reach is the original one, and it's a high producing office. I took over one in Smithtown which is a 2,800 square foot space that I got to make my own. The office in Center Reach is my original baby. This one has so much space. The idea for me is we have a 20-foot green screen media center with cameras and lighting, and so that's the vision I have is like we're going to have a central hub for education, for as many offices as God willing we're able to open, or as many agents we're able to have. We'll have this central hub for agents to come in and create their own content, to build their brands, to be in front of their audience in the best possible way, and we can do education there, and then hopefully the other offices will be what they are, which is like an office, but that's going to be the central place to educate and grow and do virtual education and things like that. And then we have a podcast studio in Ronkonkoma that we give the agents access to as well. So if it's quiet, it's got its own studio, so they can go and do stuff like that. So the goal is to just be at the forefront of how agents get in front of people, which is marketing, social media, video, and beyond just social media too. They need to be making video to their clients. They need to
Yeah.
be making video direct to people, individual conversations, and all that can be, even a lot of it can be pre-done at these studios. Like set up, do your under contract video. Make it somewhat generic so that it can go out.
Yeah.
And so on. But like that's the vision, is to be the forefront of where technology is for real estate.
Which I think you're doing a great job. It actually made me think of another question, which is, you're quite good on camera.
Oh,
and you're
all right.
capturing. So
Thanks.
how did that happen? Because I'm sure you weren't like in front of a lens your entire life too. So what was that evolution in this process where you go, you know what, I think I need a camera, I need the studio, I need that crew.
My old friend would tell you, I've always deserved the camera. I've always been someone who enjoys telling a story. I love there was a time where I'd walk into a party and someone would go, "Hey Pete, can you tell the Barry story?" And I would just gather a crowd and go, "Sure, gather around. Like everyone gonna hear a quick story." And so I've always been, and I was a game show when I was 10 years old. I was on a video game show, but I've always loved telling stories and doing those things. And between you and me, my dream job is to host Family Feud. So if you have any connections, let's make that happen.
That's awesome. I think you do it well.
Thank you. So yeah, I don't know. I think for that, it's natural for me. I mean, if you go back to my original videos when I was shooting real videos, they're terrible, and they worked. And a lot of times they work better when they're terrible because people relate more. And that's why I ask my agents I'm too nervous. I'm not you. I'm not comfortable. And they go, great, because neither is the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And if you can be endearing and just say, hey, I'm about to do this thing. I'm putting myself out there. I'm your local realtor, and this is not easy for me. I'm not comfortable in front of the camera. You're going to create this connection with the audience where they're rooting for you. They don't want to root for Pete. Pete's comfortable, right? They want the underdog. And you'll build this following and just genuinely being you. So it's a blessing that I can I'm comfortable and I love to tell stories and I love to do these things, but it shouldn't be a deterrent for the rest of the world to get in front of their audience and get in front of their people.
Yeah, I love that, and it makes sense to me because you do look like a natural on camera. So, that's good. So it was always there. It's just now that there's a camera there.
It's always been there. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then for the people watching, I think it's important. One of the biggest things we did this class recently here called Camera Confidence. We brought people in and helped them get more comfortable on camera. And believe it or not, part of the sales training was improv. And we did some improv stuff with them, and it was incredible. People actually felt emotion, and they were like, "Wow, this is pretty fun." But what I noticed is this: sometimes when someone's new, they feel like they have to be an authority in something to be able to talk about something.
Right.
And if you're just transparent, like you said, if you were to actually say, "Hey, this is the first time I'm doing this," or "Hey, I just got started in real estate, I'm going to document my journey," that alone will get a lot more following because it's genuine. I think people only have a hard time and can't do it is because they're constantly trying to create a persona that doesn't exist or trying to create a story that's not real.
Yeah.
And the size of the story isn't important. The realness of it is.
The realness is the most important thing. And I can give you an example. One of my agents, his brand is he's Community Joe. And he took on what I told him to do 1,000%. He started documenting, hey, I'm new, I'm doing this thing, but I'm from Comac, I love the community. He started doing charity things in front of storefronts, and he was saying, I'm new, I've only been doing this a month, I've only been doing this 2 months. Within the first couple months, he got 2 listings and a buyer.
Wow.
Saying, I'm new.
Yeah.
Right? But he was genuine. He was doing things for the local community. He was enthusiastic. And people saw him and go, hey, that's Joe. I remember Joe. I trust him. He'll make sure I'm taken care of.
Yeah.
So being authentic and all the videos that have gotten probably the most for me weren't the ones in the green screen. It wasn't, it was one where I literally sat down, I put the phone down. Sometimes it was dark, and I just had this thing that I had to get out of me.
Yeah.
and that I've gotten the most like good feedback and traction, and people telling me like it affected them and it helped them. So I agree.
That's awesome. No, that really is, and I hope it inspires people who are watching, because if you're watching, so you're like, should I do this? You definitely should, and there's no real regrets. It's actually incredible, because you just get an opportunity to speak to a lot more people, and you start to realize how many people are in alignment with it. What we're experiencing here on our end, finally with Evolution, is that, and this is where you reach a critical point, which is awesome, is criticism. I think now, like, that barrier, if people worry about criticism, you won't get criticized until you get enough activity for someone to actually criticize. So someone will think like, what if I sound bad?
Pray for criticism.
Yeah, exactly. If people start criticizing you, that means they're starting to see you a lot, which is great, because that's something that really lets you know you're doing the right thing, and not to let it jab at you. So there's something that I always knew, like the one thing you did is you market yourself very well, whereas Pocketpeat. And so I knew as Pocketpeat from the moment I first saw you on social media. And when we talk about innovation or doing things differently, I asked you earlier, but if you don't mind telling the story again, what is Pocketpeat?
Sure. So Pocketpeat started as an app. So I had an app developer that built me out a website, say I can create this app for you, but I can create this app for you, and all your agents and all your clients can search for houses right on your app. And I said, no, I'm not competing with Zillow.
Yeah.
I can't beat Zillow. Okay, Pete can't beat Zillow.
Yeah.
So I basically told him no, and then about 2 a.m. I sat up in my bed. I go, I got it. I've always been the guy who has the guys. Even before I was in real estate, I don't know anything about electric. If you need an electrician, you'd call Pete. Who do you know? Who can I trust? Right? If you need an undertaker, you'd call Pete. I decided to create an app that had all the people in it that I trust, including the real estate people. So like I'd sit down with my clients and they would, and I'd say, I want you to download my app. It has all the people I trust in it. But so if you go and you'll see the attorney, all the people in real estate. But I go, even after that, if you go into Bottle House Market and you want a free macaroni salad with your sandwich, show the Pocketpeat app, because you're gonna love Bottle House Market. Try the meatballs. They're the best meatballs in the business. So now for 4 or 5 years, people call me and go, they're still using my app. And they're always looking for people that I trust. So basically, I'm always with you. I'm always in your pocket. I'm Pocketpeat.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's how, and now people know me as Pocketpeat. In fact, people don't even know my name is Pete for some reason. They just know me as Pocketpeat. Because I started branding the app, and it just turned into who my personality and who I ended up being. So now, Pocketpeat.
That's awesome. Well, download the Pocketpeat app, and I'm definitely downloading now that I know what the connection is to it too, and I'll definitely share it with all my friends. I think it's an incredible idea, and I think it's just another way for people to interact with you and create omnipresence. I think a few things that are few takeaways that I think the audience should definitely be aware of is. You've created omnipresence because you're physically where you're supposed to be for your business, and you make sure that you go to other places as well. In addition to that, you have social media, you have the Pocketpeat app, and you also collaborate with your own agents, with other people. So this creates that omnipresence, which is super important in branding. And a lot of people, for you to be able to do the same thing 30 years ago, you'd have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. Just in advertising, where if you're actually positioning and constantly investing in that time, it makes it happen. So I think you don't want to underestimate the amount of marketing presence that Pete's doing. It's incredible, and you do it naturally. So it's awesome. So what does the future of your organization look like? What's your vision for 5, 10 years from now?
So I want to continue to be a presence in the real estate community. I have this, Nicole and I, my partner in Smithtown and Melville, we have this vision of doing good is going to bring good.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to try to create these education events, for the real estate community, try to be open and there for the community, and then we're expecting good to come back, people to realize what we know, how much value we can add, and continue to grow. We're at right now we have about 60 agents. The goal is to, to continue on, and hundreds and hundreds of agents, and help people change their lives. That's the goal. I mean, I have this this vision. Being a broker isn't necessarily how you get rich. Selling is where, which Brian can tell you, selling is where the money is. My heart is in having effect on people's lives, and so I have this thing called the 100th Life Project, where if 100 people are telling me that I had a profound and good effect on their life, then I would have led a successful life. So that's the goal, is to be able to do good and maybe have that come back. And if I hit that 100th person, I'm going to be drinking Sinatra Select. I have this bottle of Sinatra Select whiskey that's been waiting for me to drink once I hit that 100th person.
That's awesome. I think that's so important, and that'll definitely, because what that does is that creates a vision that's worthy of support. And a lot of people want to be a part of that, because I know someone like me, when I hear something like that, I'm like, wow, anything that I could do to help you achieve that, I'm down, because it's just it helps so many dynamics besides just for one. And I think that's awesome. We have, I don't know if you know this here at my company, we have Create a Million Millionaires. And the reason why we want to do that is because most people are inherently good. So if they had more money, they'd probably do good things. We can make this world a better place. I just love the idea of my daughter one day, she can go to a different country somewhere else, and they could go like, hey, I knew your dad, or we were able to do this, or that helped. So, I can't change the whole world, but if we could do that. So when you say that, it's totally in alignment with the way I think. So that's awesome. And that's really cool.
Thank you.
So I wanted to talk shop for a second about something. Real estate person to real estate person, and get your opinion on the evolution of the market. And I'm not talking about what's happening in real estate, the way real estate is being conducted. So you have, Google bought homes.com, and you have Amazon working on Amazon Homes, which is basically where they're going to be able to help people transact directly online. You have brokerages changing to virtual only, or evolution of some things. What are your thoughts on how it's going to be transacted, and how are you prepared to take that on?
So, I think the world is definitely going to the cloud. So I think a lot of brokers are putting their head in the sand and saying, and thinking their brick and mortar is gonna hold up against no overhead companies, right? But I think for the actual success of real estate agents, and not just being a house for where licenses sit, there has to be mentorship. There has to be products. There has to be like a value add that's there. So in my mind, I'm mentally preparing for this war, where I definitely need to be able to reduce overhead, because their overhead is at nearly zero, right? But also be able to have the green screen, have the mentorship, have the people that we have Matterport cameras. Our goal is to be able to provide so much value that it doesn't matter what we charge, and we don't charge that much. But that it's you have to have some hands-on. Yeah. And I think those cloud models go too far, in the sense that you're left without layers of mentorship. So if you can go out and find it and create it for yourself, God bless. But if I can build it in-house and you can come, my brokerage, and I feel like it's not even my doing. It's just, I'm so lucky to have the people around me, like that guy, Community Joe. He was a former executive of Bed Bath & Beyond. He was a regional director of Bed Bath & Beyond. He is building out systems for me to help me train. He doesn't have to help me train people. He doesn't have to do that. He's got his own real estate business to run. We have other agents that are just like, I'll go, hey, we have this new agent. 5 or 10 people will call them and introduce themselves, and do you need anything? Like, this is what I'm good at. This is, if I can help you anyway. Like, to have that built out in a way is immeasurable, and you can't do that with just signing into a cloud and having that license. So you either got to find that and create that for yourself, or find a space like I think we're building out to be able to grow. But yeah, I personally need to prepare for the cost war.
Yeah.
You know, that's coming, and that, you know, so I'm definitely thinking about different ways that we can reduce overhead that doesn't reduce value.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you'll be able to accomplish that, and I think legacy brokers are responsible for cloud-based brokerages gaining so much traction, because for so long, it was just kind of like, okay, I'll hold your license and
Right.
take a little
Right. So the
fraction
cloud
of the
might as
action.
well hold it.
Yeah.
You know, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If those are the two options,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know, if you actually have people willing and vested in your future and want to see you grow and have the tools to do so,
It's a whole different story.
it's a different story. So so like, they had it too good for too long, and they deserve that pain.
Yeah. And I think the good news is that, on the contrary, when I think this evolution happens where people go more towards these no overhead brokers, there's going to be a self-realization where people say, wait, I want community, I want other things, and you're going to see a good harmonic balance where the brokers that do nothing and just hold licenses, they'll probably pay the biggest cost. The ones that evolve and create communities with real support and with real culture, those will probably pay off more dividends than when before those other brokers even existed.
Right.
Because you can always tell if something's good based off comparing it to something else, and for such a long time, there was nothing to compare it to.
Right.
I think what you're doing is you have your finger on the pulse. I love that it's a people first, motto, and I can genuinely tell that you really care a lot about the people that work with you, for you, and your clients. And with that alone, that ethics presence, that's going to help evolve in any market, because until people don't have feelings or empathy or connections anymore, what you have is nuclear. And that's so awesome. Thanks for joining us on another great episode of Money Monday. Remember, your journey to the top is not alone, and every Monday we'll bring you great guests. Thanks again to Peter Grosso. Dude, thanks again. This was a long time coming. I'm glad we were able to do it.
Me too.
And until then, be great. You deserve everything, but you won't get anything you deserve. You only get what you work for. So go out there and work hard.